Hello and welcome to another developer diary for Project Caesar, that game that we're all so incredibly hyped about. Now, today we are going to be looking at diseases and how they affect the world that we will be playing in. And just to get the cringy YouTube, please sponsor me, not sponsored, subscribe to me thing out of the way. Want to get to 30,000 subscribers before I contract ligma and die because disease, whatever, it was cringe. Whatever. Let's move on. Welcome to another Tinto Talks. Happy Wednesday, where we discuss details from our upcoming top secret game with the codename Project Caesar. This week we'll talk about the disease system. So we have here a tooltip for the outbreak together with the spread. Okay, I like looking at this. The severe smallpox outbreak in Arlatov of 1337. I wonder, is this how the game is going to start? When you load up, this is a plague that is in the game at the very beginning of the game. That'd be kind of funny. So, this disease has killed people. Oh my gosh. Most affected countries are Golden Horde. Is this deaths or just people who have the disease so far? Which is, kind of crazy. Either way. Smallpox, terrible disease that produces on the sad victim fever, vomits, and finally an enormous amount of liquid-filled blisters that cover their entire body. These outbreaks of this plague are very deathly, which should not be deadly, and those that survive are commonly left blind for life. Sad times. We have two types of diseases. Environmental, which don't spread through movement of trade nor movement of people, and those that spread. A disease does not just impact pops in a location, but can infect armies. Each disease has many different attributes, all of which can be complex calculations, and this very flexible system is entirely modeled through script. There's a chance for it to spawn every month, how often the disease processes, like how fast it ticks, how quickly it spreads to other pops, how quickly it spreads between locations and pops, how quickly it stagnates in a location or unit, how many pops or soldiers die or become resistant each tick, how many pops or soldiers die each tick of the above, the mortality of the characters, how quickly resistances decay, how much presence is needed before it spreads to adjacent locations, and if you want specific pop types affected, and more. Alright, that's cool. That is a lot of things that you can really poke in on and make different diseases very specific. To give an Anbana example, Serpent's Rot with this system sounds terrifyingly effective. Really, really cool. Right, cool. Moving on though. When diseases are present in a location, the resistance to it builds up, making further outbreaks less effective. Pops, locations, subunits can have resistances, so if pops move around, they can bring diseases they have with them that they themselves are immune to. Likewise, a unit carrying disease may spread it to locations it travels through. Okay. Biological warfare in multiplayer. Hey bro, can you give me some military access? I need to get to the other side of your country, and you bring your frickin' disease legion. Nurgle's own army marched straight to their capital and sit there and be like, sorry bro, nothing I can do about it. I didn't know he had the plague. He had the plague. He knew he had the plague. That sounds devious as hell. When diseases are present in a location, the resistance to it builds up, making further outbreaks less effective. Pops, locations, and subunits can have resistances, so if pops move around, they can bring diseases they have with them that they themselves are immune to. I think I just read this, and I just read it again, because why not? Diseases in Saint-Marcelin, we've got smallpox, they've got presence and resistance there. I wonder, and I hope, that resistances over time can decay, because if Paris is resistant to smallpox in, 1400, they are not resistant to it in, 1600, 1700, right? That resistance should not just stay there permanently. I definitely think there should be a decay if there isn't already. So let's take a look at the different diseases we have. So they have the bubonic plague. With the default options, this will happen in 1346. Start somewhere in circulation and spread throughout the old world. It spreads relatively quickly, and the mortality rate for pops is between 30 and 60%, which is wild. A great pestilence that sweeps through busy trade routes, sparing neither low nor high. Those infected suffer black swellings in the groin and armpits, terrible fever, and death. Some believe it was carried by vermin that scurry in our streets and fields, spreading foul sickness from one poor soul to another. Damn. The Great Pestilence. This will spawn in the New World whenever someone from the Old World colonizes a location and spreads from there. It represents the collection of diseases that the European colonizers brought to the Americas. It can and will spawn in multiple places. It doesn't impact pops from the Old World, as they're immune to most of these. This has a gigantic mortality effect, killing between 75 and 90% of all pops. Holy. Playing in the New World is going to be absolutely terrifying. Holy balls. Terrible news reaches from abroad. Misery and plague sweep the lands, and death runs with them. Apparently, brought by mysterious bearded foreigners. This plague is not something our elders have ever heard of, and no answers in our ancestors' memories could help us face the catastrophe if it reaches our settlements. Will our people perish, or will we somehow resist when this walking death reaches us? I'm liking the flavor text, I'm not going to lie. Malaria. It's an environmental disease that pretty much permanently in most sub-Saharan Africa. That is pretty much permanently there. Most of the local people have limited resistance to it, but any colonizers from abroad will die. There will be regular outbreaks that can kill 10 to 20% of the pops that do not have resistance in a location. The ancient bane of humankind, malaria, is an infectious disease transmitted from person to person by the bite of an infected mosquito. This illness produces chills, headache, sweating, and very intense fever that repeats every 3 to 4 days. So, fun fact, I'm allergic to mosquitoes that we have here in Finland, or one of the strains of mosquitoes we have here in Finland. I'm perfectly happy if all mosquitoes were to just die, all of them. I don't care what happens to the food chain. I don't care what happens to all of them need to go. I hate mosquitoes. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Also, isn't malaria like the most like if we're talking kill counts, malaria is like at the top by a significantly margin, right? Over the rank 2. Which is probably starvation, if I was to guess. But I'm pretty sure I remember malaria being like, MVP when it comes to killing humans. Typhus. Outbreaks will appear in the areas of the Old World where one of the 3 types of typhus are endemic. It will also spawn in forest, woods, or jungle locations, spreading from there. It spreads relatively slowly, but the mortality rate is between 4 and 40%. The deathly sickness creates on those stricken by it a great deal of fever, a big red rash that might extend over the entire body, and a confusion of the mind that might get worse to the point of full-on delirium. These poor souls that reach this point would develop gangrenous lesions and invariably die. Sadness. Influenza. It will spawn during winter and spread in a relatively short period of time. It will not appear in the Americas until the Great Pestilence has ravaged the continent fully. Kills on average about 1 in 1,000 people, so it's not the most lethal of diseases. Known by the common folk as the flu, it is a widely spread sickness with usually mild symptoms like a runny nose or a fever in healthy individuals, but that might be extremely dangerous for those that are too young or too old, or already weakened by injury or other malady. I guess COVID is a type of influenza, so some of them suck more than others. Measles. I'm not sure why you're showing an eyeball for measles. No idea. Anyway, this will spawn in most locations around the world. It's far more likely to spread in towns and cities. It will not appear in the Americas until the Great Pestilence has ravaged the continent fully. It is a bit more deadly than influenza, but around 2 in 1,000 people will die from it. Measles, known as morbilli, rubella, and red measles, is a plague that spreads extremely fast from person to person, causing fever, cough, sneezes, and a great flat rash that eventually covers the entire body. It preys most eagerly on children, who are at great risk of death if they fall on its claws. Onto smallpox now. This keeps spawning in most locations around the world, but not in arid or Arctic climates. It will spread in a small region and is highly contagious. It's far more likely to spread in locations with a lot of trade. It will not appear in the Americas until the Great Pestilence has ravaged the continent fully. Mortality rate is between 5 and 30%, so an outbreak where there is low resistance can be deadly. Smallpox is a terrible disease that produces on the sad victim fever, vomits, and finally an enormous amount of liquid-filled blisters that cover their entire body. The outbreaks of the plague are very deadly, and those that survive are commonly left blind for life and scarred, very, very heavily scarred. There are ways to reduce the impact of disease on your country. Oh, thank gosh. Holy balls, I'm glad to see this. Basically, what I'm doing at the start of any campaign in EU5 is building things to hospitals. All of them. I need them all. First of all, there are medical advances in most ages, and there are also buildings you can build. First, there's the hospital that you can build in any town or city with at least 20 development. This is available at the start of the game for more advanced countries. Good. Gives you life expectancy, plague resistance. It is infrastructure, I am imagining that this symbol means. Medicaments, tools, has a new icon, by the way. Paper, books, medicaments, and I believe this one is mercury. A year building time, costs 200 gold, requirements for construction there as well. The history of the hospital is as old as many ancient civilizations, has their own version of an institution which houses the sick. During the medieval period, the hospital evolved further as it now focuses additionally to the health care and recovery of its patients. After the scientific revolution, you could research the advances from medical schools and build them in your towns and cities. So we have even more plague resistance, more character life expectancy. It requires some glass, some cloth, iron, I believe. I believe that is iron. And then honey as well, which is kind of cool. Mason, wait. Honey? Was that a good? I'm pretty sure that wasn't a good last time we looked. People were saying that honey should be a good. Goods. Wasn't that in here somewhere? Give me goods. Give me goods or give me death. Oh, that trade goods image. Well, that doesn't help. Trade goods, here we go. Honey wasn't a thing last time, and yeah, okay, was that... That's copper. Copper. Honey wasn't a thing. It definitely wasn't spices either. I think honey has been added to the game. Oh, okay. If honey has been added to the game, this brings a little bit more hope to the idea of us getting new spices. Honey has been added to the game. Nice. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Because that was one of the big things in here, was people saying, oh, maybe honey should be in, and then people saying, well, if honey's in, then you also need wax. Maybe wax is going to be added as well, who knows? But yeah, the goodflation is what is I've just coined just this moment. With the rise of the scientific revolution, the field of medicine is now making new breakthroughs and growing its methods and acquired knowledge. The medical school ensures that this knowledge is passed to new generations of physicians. Very cool. All right, my thoughts. I think this is going to be a source of infinite frustration, but also, if it affects everyone equally, then I think that's fine. Well, not everyone equally. Sorry, Americas. You're gonna get fucked. But I think that gameplay-wise, it is going to be something we can have some element of control over mitigating, and, you know, maybe timing your war for, like, just after... Say if you're England and you're enemy with France, they get a big outbreak of smallpox and bloody all that kind of stuff. Timing your war for just after that ends might be a good idea. But anyway, I think this could be really fun. Dealing with issues like this it's obviously not something that is good for your country, right? This is an element of the game that is like a somewhat of a pumping on the brakes. So it is not going to be something that you are going to enjoy happening to you. But I think having things that aren't going all your own way permanently without any, you know, any breaks on your conquest or any breaks on your gameplay, anything to hold you back is bad, right? You know, this is not a win more kind of game as far as we can tell. So, you know, I think this is a very flavorful way of showing things happening in that direction. But anyway, I like it. I would like to know your thoughts though, so please leave them in the comments below. Now, if you will excuse me, as you can hear, the background music is the soundtrack for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I'm going to upload this, and then I'm going to go and play that. So thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.